Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Colin, also known as the Battle Room, and today I am going to be breaking down the team that I used in the Players' Cup to go 0-2. You're probably asking yourself, Colin, why would I watch this stupid video about a team you used to go 0-2? And I'm like, genuinely, I don't know, except for the fact that my friend Kimo got 5th in the entire event with this team. So while I did quite awful, Kimo did kind of amazing. So today I'm going to be breaking down this sexy team that my friend Raghav built. I helped with the testing, and I used ultimately. So Kimo, break it down for us. Tell me about the team.
I think this team is pretty strong. It's a well-rounded team with emphasis on bulk, which allows for pretty comfortable positioning most of the time. One of the ways this is done is through Metagross, Tapu Fini, and Porygon 2. Three mons together that I see as a very strong core. This is because they have good synergy offensively and defensively. Defensively, you'll see this through type synergy and switching. Things like Tapu Fini being able to switch into fire moves, Porygon 2 being able to switch into ghost moves, pretty relevant for things like Sun or Dragon Pulse matchups. Porygon 2 has Trick Room, which allows middling speed Pokemon like Metagross and Fini to sometimes have speed advantages or cancel out other Trick Rooms. And the different set that Raghav made for this Porygon 2, which, maybe not too different, but the adaptation came in pretty strong. Tri-Attack and Shadow Ball made it a lot more consistent. Shadow Ball, not only being a pretty good move for hitting things like Kartana, but being able to proc your own weakness policy consistently in Trick Room allows Metagross to be a much bigger threat than usual. The team also is supported in its comfortable positioning and well-rounded bulk through the double screens that Grimmsnarl provides. It makes the switching around a lot easier, and it makes your Dynamax a lot more potent because you're allowed to stack the HP boost from the Dynamax with a pretty consistent screen defensive buffs. Grimmsnarl's Prankster allows for the screens to go up first most of the time, so you should at least have one pretty often when you bring it. The tech move on Grimmsnarl, Fake Tears, allows for pretty offensive modes as well, especially next to a partner like Zapdos. While something like Rotom Heat is pretty popular over the Zapdos slot on a lot of teams like this, thanks to Hurricane, a new move that Zapdos got this generation, new to Zapdos that is, has maximum airstream and a 140 base, pretty strong, you can't sleep on it. Heat Wave also allows it to cover Kartana, a Pokemon pretty annoying for both Metagross and Tapu Fini, either through just direct grass damage or through its ability to stack opposing Max Steel Spike defensive buffs. The Fake Tears tech on Grimmsnarl also really helps out with the Tapu Fini Calm Mind War. One of the things that happens a lot, especially in matchups where you're pretty familiar with the team, you've seen it a few times, maybe something like Animus team in Players' Cup 2, something like Screen to Lucky with Urshifu, or even the Thunderous Urshifu teams often have a Fini. You'll have plenty of matchups where a Calm Mind War at the end, or even a surprise shift to a Dynamax Fini is pretty common, and being aware of opposing Fini is something that's always pretty important in a game. Having Fake Tears to not only enable your own Fini, but potentially just win that war outright is very comfortable as well. I would say that one of the big things for me going into this, honestly, was just being super comfortable. All the mons, I've used them before. They're all really good mons. You don't have any huge surprises here in terms of the choices. If anything's really that weird, it comes down to the sets more than the mons themselves, which just allowed me to be really comfortable. I've played with all these mons before, The newest mon on here is a Grimmsnarl, who I've been using for pretty much the entirety of 2020, multiple seasons, and I used it to qualify for Players' Cup 2 as well as in it. I would say that many players, they want to use their niche mons or their favorites, and I think a metagame like this, where it's a national dex, you have certain kind of mythical or legends, but not the cover legends, more things like Tapu Koko or Zapdos. You tend to see a lot of very good mons kind of dominate usage, making teams look a little less there's less variety but there's a lot of room to have really smart combinations through good sets and EVs because the Pokemon are so good. And I think this team is a good example of that. None of the mons are very surprising, or out of place, or shocking, but the combination, I haven't really seen anything like it, and I think that there's some really smart choices that bring it together that really help me go far. And I couldn't have gotten it so far without the help of Colin and Raghav.
Thank you very much, Kimo. Kimo once again placed 5th in the tournament with his team. An amazing feat. Let's get some applause. Man, what a trainer, what a player. One of my personal idols. So now let's get into the team itself. So let's start with the man, the myth, the legend, Grimmsnarl. Grimmsnarl was what everything was built around. He is the focal point of the team and the part that Raghav thought was the strongest. He thought screens were really good going into this event, so screens are what was built around. If you're going to run screens, you're going to need a light clay. The item's insane with screens. It adds an extra 3 turns, which usually will last for majority of battles, if not the whole battle sometimes. So light clay, super important. The ability Prankster to set the screens first, obviously. For the moveset, obviously the double screens. But then we have Spirit Break and Fake Tears. Spirit Break is just your generic attacking move. It OHKOs or Shifu, which is really, really important. And it also lowers special attack, so it adds more utility and more oppression to the screens, right? If you have a light screen and then I drop your special attack by 1 stage, it's very, very difficult for your special attackers to do damage. And he just becomes really, really annoying with Spirit Break. It gives Grimmsnarl something to do next to stuff like Metagross or Incineroar when he's not pressing screens. Fake Tears is to power up the special attackers. Fake Tears plus Zapdos is really, really nutty. There's a lot of KOs that you can actually get that will catch people off guard. It also powers up Porygon 2 in Trick Room. Leading Grimmsnarl plus P2 is really strong, and this gives Grimmsnarl a more proactive option when he's in Trick Room with Porygon. The EV spread is pretty simple: max HP, max defense, just so you're able to live Iron Head from Metagross a majority of the time. The 12 speed is to outspeed Porygon in Trick Room, so you're able to Shadow Ball, potentially max Phantasm to lower the defense, and hit him with a Spirit Break afterward. It's a little subtle thing, but it can go a long way if you're ever maxing Porygon 2. So let's get into our second Pokemon, Metagross. Metagross is one of my favorite Pokemon to use. I don't love Metagross, but like this thing just feels good when he's on my team. And I've always loved Metagross. So Metagross, once he came back, I was really hyped to use him, and I think he does fit this team really well. Metagross per screens is almost impossible to KO. You can hit me with Max Flare, you can hit me with Max Quake. It doesn't matter what you're throwing at me, I'm going to live because screens plus Metagross is insane. And Metagross can just snowball out of control if he's getting Steel Spike boosts or getting special defense boosts with Stomping Tantrum. Like, Metagross is the main max here, and this is the Pokemon you're going to use like almost every game. The item of choice is Weakness Policy. The threat of Weakness Policy alone is a big deal. Remember, this was an open team sheet format, so my opponents knew I had Weakness Policy, but sometimes it's just really, really obnoxious to fight Metagross, even though I'm not self-procking it myself. I do have the option. I do have Shadow Ball on Porygon 2, and it's an option that I know I pressed a lot in practice, and I know Kimo did use as well, which to big success. So I think the self-proc is really nice and really important, but for the most part, the threat of Weakness Policy alone is huge on this Pokemon, because when he's maxing, he's dealing big damage, and it's really hard for them to KO him in one shot. The ability is Clear Body. You don't want those attack drops. It makes Metagross even better. For the moveset, Iron Head for our consistent Steel move, the Steel Spike, Stomping Tantrum because we want to be able to boost our special defense, Rock Slide. Rock Slide's kind of an interesting choice. It's mainly to combat Rotom Heats, which I expected to see a lot of in the tournament, and so did Raghav and Kimo. Rotom Heat was kind of a big threat in the current meta, so like being able to beat Rotom Heat is huge. Obviously, they know we have Rock Slide because of the open team sheet format, but the threat of it alone can sometimes be enough to deter them or to pin them in a place where we're actually just getting the KO with Rock Slide. Protect is obvious. For the EV spread, we wanted enough speed that would underspeed Rotom by 1 point, so in Trick Room we always knew we were slower than 4-speed Rotom, and then also enough speed to outspeed Landorus after an Airstream boost if that situation were to occur. The rest was put into attack. It's a jumping off point, so you get an extra stat, and then you put the rest in HP, and then 4 in each defense to give Metagross some general bulk. For the most part, it's pretty good. Metagross's spreads are really dynamic, and most of the time you just want to get as much attack stat you can. A little bit of speed for a certain speed number you need to hit, and then the rest in bulk. But for the most part, he is pretty self-sufficient stat-wise, and you just want to rely on getting boost for your Metagross. Not too crazy here. It's just really, really effective and really good as a spread. Fini is easily the best Pokemon in the game right now. Absolutely insane Pokemon, and this set is just pretty standard, but it synergizes so well with Metagross. Just being able to deter burns and is able to switch in defensively for Metagross is just a sight to behold. The moveset is pretty simple: Muddy Water, Moonblast, Calm Mind, and Protect. You get the most out of the attacks there. You have your double stabs, you have Muddy Water, and then you have Calm Mind to power up your stabs. It's really strong with screens. It's very hard to KO this Pokemon when it gets a couple boosts going off of Metagross. If you get a couple Steel Spikes next to Fini, most of the time Fini's going to be on the field for a couple turns, sitting there, gaining more HP, so leftovers seems like a necessity. The spread itself is pretty simple. It's designed to speed creep all other Finis while also outspeeding Thundurus at +1, so it's got a little bit more speed than it would need to outspeed Thundurus, just so you're always going first. It's so important in a Fini mirror that you get to Calm Mind before they potentially hit you with a Moonblast. The rest is dumped into special attack. Like that's the spread. It's very simple. It's very fast. It's very good. Fini is pretty simple Pokemon. It really just is so good, and it synergizes so well with Metagross. It's necessary for this team, and it just works wonders. So the next Pokemon that was added is Porygon 2. Now this Pokemon is pretty good and a little bit slept on in my opinion. Porygon 2 helps with the side proc of Shadow Ball. It also becomes straight up unkillable if Grimmsnarl is there supporting it. So overall, just a really good Pokemon, and it synergizes well with what we have here. It has a good Trick Room mode. It adds a really good self proc for Metagross, and also becomes unkillable with screens. Again, this team is just all about defensive bulk, and I think Porygon 2 does a really good job of it. So for the item Eviolite, that's obvious. Like, Porygon 2 is not fully evolved, so you slap an Eviolite on there and it's impossible to kill. Step 1 complete. Step 2, download. Download is really good. It has a chance to grab a special attack boost or an attack boost depending on the target's defenses. So if you do get that special attack boost, it becomes a very potent max. If not, you're still also Porygon doing decent damage. The moveset: Tri Attack, Shadow Ball, Recover, Trick Room. Tri Attack is your main stab. It's really nice if you actually want to max it. It's a really strong, like, Max Strike is very potent. Shadow Ball is really cool as a max 2 to power up your Metagross or Incineroar or Grimmsnarl a little bit. And also, you can side proc with Shadow Ball. Sometimes they're spamming Steel Spike against your team to try and survive the Metagross in the end game, but your Porygon will end up doing huge amounts of damage with Shadow Ball in an end game scenario, so it's just a really cool move. It also hits Dusclops and stuff like that super effectively, but overall, like, Shadow Ball is really cool. Recover, you need to be able to heal, and Trick Room for another speed control option. The spread itself is pretty simple as well. It's designed to live a +1 Bandit or Shifu close combat in Reflect. So the idea is you lead Grimmsnarl P2, you press Reflect, and you live close combat as they go for Max Knuckle with Thundurus onto your Grimmsnarl, and then super close combat into your Porygon. So that's what it's designed to do. It's really insanely bulky on the physical spectrum. Yeah, it's a pretty good spread. And then it's just dump the rest in special defense while putting 4 in the other one. It's bold, it's bulky. It gets the job done. Porygon is really good Pokemon. I think it's a little slept on. Like, Dusclops is obviously really good, but Porygon 2 can pull some weight. It can pop off, like, if you let it. But really not disappointed with this one either. It gives Trick Room, which I always like, and it gives that extra sort of speed control. It also helps with Dragapult as well. Fini Porygon 2 is an insane combo to help deal with Dragapult. But let's go into the next mod. So Incineroar, oh man. Incineroar is a crazy Pokemon, and it wouldn't be a Raghav team without Intimidate. I love Intimidate, Raghav loves Intimidate. We can't play without it. It just feels like a necessity, and so Incineroar was the choice here. Landorus could be picked, but it doesn't fit the team as well. There already are no Levitators, and Fake Out is really nice to help set up screens, to help set up Trick Room, and to help set up Calm Minds. So overall, like, Fake Out is helping all of our Pokemon. Assault was opted for just for some more special bulk. This is clearly supposed to be a very defensive team, and getting more bulk out of the screens, multiplying off of Assault can be really nice. And, like, for the most part, I think you could go for a berry build, but I think Assault does work really well. It also allows for the Incineroar to be invested more defensively than normal. So, like, it allows Incineroar to live hits that it normally wouldn't, which can be really nice if you want to conserve your Intimidate and be able to spam it later. Intimidate, obviously, is the ability. It's absolutely insane. Great ability. For the moveset, Fake Out, Flare Blitz, U-Turn, and Darkest Lariat. We have Fake Out for Fake Out, Flare Blitz for your Fire Stab, U-Turn so we can pivot, and Darkest Lariat for the Dark Stab. Overall, pretty good moveset. Again, I think a berry could have been opted for, but for the most part, I didn't really miss parting shot that much. But I think you could. It could make the team a little bit bulkier, be able to spam that a little bit more. But I do think Assault Vest did catch a couple opponents off guard, and it worked pretty well. For the spread, it's just really, really physically bulky. It's able to take hits from Metagross and the Ice Horse really, really well. Max HP, 156 defense, impish. You're living hits from Fini when it maxes and stuff of that nature. So you're still living the special hits you need to. You can live a Landorus, Max Quake. Overall, a pretty good spread, and I really enjoyed using Incineroar. And I think Incine's still really good. I mean, he helps set up the team. He's a great Pokemon. No complaints about Incine. So let's go into the last one, Zapdos. So Zapdos was the glue that brought this whole team together. The team was pretty slow and really defensive, so we needed that go at 'em button, if you will, and I think Zapdos accomplishes that. The main reason Zapdos was chosen over something like Thundurus is the synergy with Fake Tears is really, really good. Like, Tapu Fini and Porygon obviously benefit from Fake Tears as well, but Zapdos really, really benefits. It's able to grab cheeky KOs and do big damage. It also still supplies Airstream, and it gives us a better way to hit Kartana. The team is still a little bit Kartana weak if we did add Thundurus, but due to Heat Wave, we just one-shot it. I think overall Zapdos versus Thundurus is kind of a interesting dynamic, but I think Zapdos on this team is the correct choice just for the synergy with Fake Tears alone. It's a really fun combo. Fake Tears plus Zapdos is pretty insane, and I definitely recommend it. For the EV spread, 140 is a jumping off point, so you get an extra stat off of that, and then you have 4 in each defense. You're obviously running max speed, and the rest is put in HP for some generic bulk. The special attack stat is very strong, obviously, but you don't need full special attack on this team just because you do have Fake Tears and you have ways to amplify your damage. Overall, the team performed incredibly well for Kimo. Did okay for myself. I'm not too mad about the team choice. I think the team is really good, and you guys should test it out. I think the synergies are really, really potent, especially with the Grimmsnarl. The screens are absolutely insane, and like, man, using screens makes this team almost unkillable. When you actually get to go the Grimmsnarl mode, it's very, very hard to deal with this team. And I think it is a really good team. It has really good defensive synergies. It's just very, very bulky and very, very slow and defensive. It is a little prone to crits, but for the most part, you will have speed control on your side with either Trick Room or Airstream. So I think you can get away with it. I don't regret the team choice at all. I think this team is really good, and it fit my style of play personally. The games didn't go my way due to luck and due to some misplays, so I can't really be too mad at the team. This team is so much fun to use. I had such a blast. The code is on the screen right now, so you can test it out for yourselves. Again, Raghav did most of the work here. This team is so beautiful, so fun to use. I really wanted to cover it on the channel. Even though I went 0-2, it's still a fantastic team, and I really hope you decide to use it and test it out. It's really fun, and maybe learn something from it. But if you guys enjoyed the content, please like, comment, and subscribe. But thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch my video. If you made it this far, shout outs to you. But thank you guys so much, and have a good day.